everybody, and welcome to Wine Library TV. I am your host, Gary Vaynerchuk, and this, my friends, is the Thunder Show, aka the internet's most passionate wine program. And today we are focusing on the Piedmonte region of Italy for one of the more interesting grapes in the world called Dolcetto. Value-driven wines, under the radar, not as well known as the big brother of Barbaresco and Barolo, but dollar for dollar, if you're eating the pasta or the veal marsala and you're tired of the bullcrap Chianti, Dolcetto needs to be your home. I'm very excited about this. The last time we featured Dolcetto, we had a substantial amount of people email us from around the country, going into their stores, trying Dolcettos, and quickly becoming a varietal that so many people loved. Now, the Alba region of Piedmonte is really where Dolcetto makes its name, but we're also going to visit the Dogliani, which is a great little area for Dolcetto, a little bit more unknown, but bringing fierce Dolcetto nonetheless. I've not had any of the three of these. Hopefully they won't fall in her face, as Mott knows. Many times we'll build up an area only to fall directly. Ribolla Gialla is probably the one. Do you know that show had 3 bad Ribolla Giallas, and that's probably 3 of the 5 bad ones I've ever had in my life out of like 80? So, you know, I always get nervous or I get pumped about a new area of the world, but you know, I'm gonna hope. What I do know is that Dolcetto means the little sweet one. These are thin-skinned grape varietals that are very tannic. I know that the Alba region has been making some of the best Dolcetto for a very long time and really was the only stuff you could find. I also know that the Dogliani region became a DOCG in 2005 and is really kind of the up-and-coming spot for this great varietal. What I also know is this, that an enormous amount of my friends through the years that I've turned on to this grape varietal have become massive fans. And anytime you're having the spaghetti or anything else, these are really fun wines. They drink well by themselves, but are also high in acid enough and fresh enough to really bring out the ability to pair extremely well with food. So, Ma, with all that buildup, let's get deep into this. Let's start with the Rogna, 2008. Boy, is this young. Dolcetto di Alba. 12.5% alcohol content, $13 US. Let's get into it. As you can see, I have a Jets glass, Mott, which makes me very, very happy. Little swirly swirl and a little sniffy sniff. Let's see what's going on. A little sniffy sniff McGee, Mott. Sniffy sniff McGee. Now, you may also notice right down below a new little icon down there. Yes, I want you to review them on Cork, but some really cool apps from Springfield partners, some guys I'm working with, some really cool stuff. You can start taking this data and using it, not just from Wine Library TV, but all over the internet, so check that out. Anyway, little sniffy sniff action. First thing you're going to know is a very floral aromatic, red flowers, lilacs, tulips. Smelled a couple tulips the other day, Mott, to make sure I engraved that smell, and this is the first wine I've had in the 6 weeks since that happened that really sings to me on that level, which makes me happy. Little really dried up cranberry action on the nose as well. Let's give it a whirl. Very fresh fruit. 2008, I was a little worried that this wine was going to get panned for being too tight, and though it's tight and young and vibrant, it is showing much more on the palate than I expected at this point. It's chalky, almost like sand, almost like going to a desert. Very chalky, you know, dusty component on the palate, which I like. Clearly, sour cherries for days. I mean, this is just sour cherries on the palate. There's no denying the fruit here. And once again, that floral component that was clearly obvious at one point on the nose is definitely creating an extension on the palate that I think is quite fascinating. This chalkiness is undeniable. I continue to taste it. It's very tannic and dry. Your palate will become dry, but not totally pucker dry, but it is a dry component wine. Let's give it one more shot. I like the freshness of this fruit. I'd be remiss and negligent even to not mention this pretty strawberry flavor that I'm tasting on the back end. This is an 88 plus point wine. A good start, 13 bones. It makes me very unhappy, like sad face, like this. For all the people that are drinking $12 to $15 garbage, Chiantis and Sangioveses and just Barberas that just are not inspiring in any shape or form, And oh, by the way, let's throw Spain and France and California and Argentina and Malbecs and all of them. The amount of wines that are 12 to 15 bones out there in the U.S. market that just stink and are boring and are marketing plays with no soul or heart or essence of terroir is devastating. And that there's wines like this from producers like Rogna, who are one of the great producers in Piedmont, that bring thunder to the palate and have this true, honest flavoring. It's staggering, and it motivates me to continue to do this show, to pan the bad ones and give the good ones their kudos. This is a good one. 88 plus points, 13 bones, perfect weeknight wine, and it's a good start. We already got more out of this than I was worried about. All right, now let's go to the Gardi 2006 Dolcetto di Dogliani, the Courcelette, and let's look at this as an $18 US wine, so not totally inexpensive. Did you get the zoom in there? All right, a little bit darker already. I can see on the color. Let's make sure we pour a nice full glass. Kind of excited about this one. I've heard some big things about this wine. Haven't had it myself. Sniffy snip, because that's what we do. Wow. Now this is demonstratively more explosive and New World than the last wine. This has a big plum and prune flavor on the nose. So on the nose. Prunes are completely coming through on this, and I like it very sweet, like sweet violet love, just like very vibrant, fruity. Just a gorgeous nose. Does it smell nice?
It does.
You like it, right? Mm-hmm. It smells very delicious. I'm excited. I hope it extends. Let's give it a whirl. Now this is dramatically more New World. This is almost like a kangaroo bounced its way to Italy and gave a little Australian love to this vineyard. Very sunshine driven, good fruit. I get blackberry jam for days. This actually would be a wine, though it's a hair light, but you want to talk about somebody who likes Cabernet. They're going to like this dark fruit and this bitter tannins. Now, body-wise, it's somebody more who's a Merlot drinker. So, example A of what would you do to get people to try new things. If I had somebody who loved Chateau Souverain Merlot or Semi-Cab because it wasn't a heavy cab, this is the kind of bottle I would bring to them and say, hey man, you need to try this. And they're going to love it because this wine is so good, first of all, in comparison to some of those kind of uninspired efforts that we see around the world. Not just from California, I'm picking on them again for no reason. But there is an intensity and a structure to this wine that is fantastic. It's a little, like a shoulder, Mott, right here. Zoom it in, Mott, right here, the shoulder. It's like a little, like just a hair too New World for my palate, but it's still quite good. Let me give it one more shot. You know what? I'm not going to Scrooge this up. This has black tea and blackberries. It's delicious. Yeah, it's got a little oak, but boy, oh boy, everything else outweighs this. I'm going to score this 90 points. This is really good. Mott, taste this. You're going to like it. It's juicy. It's explosive. It's not a perfect example of Dolcetto. It almost gets like Dolcetto Shiraz. You know, like it's a little Shiraz Dolcetto-like to me. So I get a little worried there. I don't like to veer too far off of its tradition, but it's good. And it's dry. And you know what? At the end of the day, I can sit on my high horse about tradition and don't go too far from the realm of the road, but then I'd be a hypocrite because what I do here is not standard wine practice. This is just delicious. If it's good, it's good. And this wine is good. That was 3 goods. 90 plus points, Mott. I like it. What do you think?
Good.
Real good? Deep,
tea,
right?
The tea component.
The black tea, you got it, right? Yeah.
Right off the bat.
I agree. All right, this might have hurt this wine right here. I'm a little bit worried for this next wine. I did not expect that to be as thunderous as it was. Let's go to the Pesero 2007 Dolcetto di Alba Monfarina. 90 points, Antonio Galloni. $15 US. Galloni reviews for Robert Parker's Wine Advocate. He's a great critic who's more than conservative. He, him giving a 90-point score is not something to take lightly. So a 90 point from Galloni is legit. I mean, like Deion Sanders and McKire and, and obviously MC Hammer, baby. So let's give it a sniffy sniff. This is more tradition. This gets a little more leathery. There's a little barnyard. There's maybe a sheep in the corner that hasn't taken a bath in a long time. It gets a little stinkified. There's also a vibrant, almost like candy bar component. So it's almost like whatchamacallit candy bars got dropped all around, an Oklahoma City farm, right? Just like clearly a very interesting dynamic of new and old world going on in the nose here. Let's give it a whirl. Bitter, baby. I feel like I'm having bitter beer face. Wow. I mean, there is a really dry effort here, which is fine. High acid, high tannins, high dryness. That creates a very puckered situation, which I'm okay with. A lot of people like that dryness on the palate. Good fruit, not great. I'm a little bit surprised here. I don't find the source of the fruit here to be so exciting. And Galoni went high. I respect him quite a bit. Just doesn't work for my palate. Everybody's palate is different. Every day and time. Maybe he made it 6 months to a year ago. It's an 07, probably in that range. There's a black cherry soda thing. Oh man, that is one bitter tannin finish. First of all, this is way too young. I mean, this is bitter tannins. Number two, for the normal consumer, this is a good 3 to 5 years too young to drink at this point. I mean, this is just tannic. I see the potential that Galoni sees in this wine. I don't see the excitement level at this point for sure. This is a stay away from wine at this point. 3 to 5 years in the cellar, which then begs the difference. Do you want to put a $15 wine away for 3 to 5 years, especially if you have no space? Probably not. It's okay. It's well made. For my palate, though, it gets a little bit kind of awkward on the finish and just really doesn't bring the thunder in any shape or form. I'm going to score it 86 points, which is not a horrible score by any stretch of the imagination, but in comparison to the two wines prior, definitely more rustic and old school, and it's very ironic. It really shows the evolution of a palate. A year ago on Wine Library TV, I'm not quite sure if this would have been able to get away with it. We've been talking more about my palate, enjoying a little more fruit. I might have been a little bit more harsh on this wine. Maybe I would have embraced this a little bit more. I feel like my palate was New World, then it went really Old World, and now I feel like moving a little bit. But even at my height of Old World nerdiness enjoyment, this awkwardness and unbalanced finish would have hurt this wine. I'm going to go 86 points and give it a pass of 15 bones, but think people should try it because I know there's a style there that a lot of people would like. Bagging through these, Mott. I like this new kind of focused, don't get sidetracked and talk about the, Crush It cruise. Look it up. Question of the day. What is your favorite Italian red wine? Period. Be specific. Be global. Be yourself. You. With a little bit of me, we are changing the wine world.